Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thank you, Alec Webb. Welcome, everyone, to MotorWeek Podcast number 173. We're delighted to have you with us. I'm John Davis, of course, and around our table today, executive producer Brian Roberts.
Hello, glad to be here.
Who doesn't usually show up for these, so we're delighted to have him with us. Our writer-researcher, Garrick Zykin.
Thank you for having me again.
And let's see, we have online content coordinator Greg Carlos.
Sorry to everybody who has to listen to me again.
And video producer and editor Mr. Joe Ligo. And Joe also is our producer of the podcast.
Blame it on me.
Yeah. Okay. We have a lot to cover. The main focus of this particular podcast is going to be the 2018 North American International Auto Show in Detroit. And I'm going to start off just by mentioning, since I'm one of the jurors for North American Car, Truck, and Utility of the Year, the winners, in case you've been living in a cave, because I think they actually even had a big billboard up in Times Square. The Honda Accord won for Best Car. The Volvo XC60 won for Best Utility. And the Lincoln Navigator won for Best Truck.
Did you say Expedition or Navigator?
Navigator.
Navigator.
The Lincoln Navigator. What happened in trucks this year is there was only one pickup truck contender, and both the Expedition from Ford and Navigator are built on a truck-style frame, and that's why they were included, and the Navigator took the win. Having said that, there were a lot of vehicles at the show of note, and we've got a long list, and we're going to try and get through most of them. But I thought I would start by just going around the table and say, okay, fellas, you get to the show, you've got a list of must-see cars. Where would you head first? Brian, take it away.
Well, I would say something just so over the top, I thought, was the new Lamborghini Urus. It's even hard to pronounce.
Can you say it again?
Urus. All the Lamborghinis. It's like Centenario. Yeah, everything's hard to say. Huracan. But the Urus, the super SUV, it's expected to. They're finally getting the SUVs. It's expected to double their yearly sales. It's a $200,000 SUV that packs 641 horsepower, which is just ridiculous. They say it's the fastest SUV, although Trackhawk
twin turbo V8.
Twin turbo, yeah, V8.
Is that on the Q7
Yeah,
platform?
Q7 and the Cayenne.
Yeah.
Like 3.9, 0 to 60, 190. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
But
speeds,
it actually looks. I think it looks attractive.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of technology.
A lot
in
of
it.
these super duper high end SUVs don't look very attractive.
It has an air suspension with ground clearance that tops some Jeeps. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was so over the top. It's definitely a must see.
Leave it to the Italians to make something that looks good.
And goes fast.
Yeah. And goes fast. Yeah.
We had more folks covering the auto show this year than we've ever had before, both there and back here. Garrett, you were holding down the fort and making sure things got processed back here a lot. So from afar, what would you have said, or what would you say was a must-see vehicle?
I think the Jeep Cherokee. The front fascia has changed. It's not the stacked lighting that it was before. It's more conventional, but it also gets a new engine, a new turbocharged four-cylinder, which the horsepower is similar with the V6, but the torque is much higher. So it'll be interesting.
So it's an optional engine, but it's the most powerful engine.
Correct.
Basically.
That's the one from the new Wrangler, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's not only just some exterior changes, but you also have some changes on the inside. So I think that would be interesting.
They made the cargo area bigger, right? And then they've also put a foot-activated tailgate.
It's definitely more attractive than the 18 version.
I don't think there's any question. They took the split lights and put them together, and it seemed like they even moved it down the fender a little bit.
It's interesting because they technically took that away, but I looked at it for a while, and the same basic design of the stacked lights is actually still there because they have a thin LED runner at the very top of what is now an actual headlight, and then they have the smaller fog lights below, so you still actually have the stacked look without it actually being that an actual stacked.
Which means that they basically didn't change the structure under it.
Right. Yeah. Somebody in engineering said, how can we redo this on the cheap and make it look good?
Maybe the reason I saw it is because it was kind of dark, so you're looking at the lighting and you still see that same basic outline. I just thought it was cleaned up a little.
Does it also gets a new transmission? And they did some updating to the transfer cases. I think it's the only one in its class that's got a terrain management type system to it. So I thought that was pretty good.
The compass being improved last year, I think it helps move it a little bit further away from the compass, which is good, I guess, to set models apart.
Greg, you are setting land speed records getting around the show. So what do you think? What's on your must-see list?
Yeah, I'll take the classic millennial take here and go over to the Hyundai Veloster. It's kind of a quirky little... Technically a 4-door, but that's only if you count the hatch. It's still a 3-door design. You still got the 1 door on the driver's side and then 2 on the
that signature aspect.
Kind of silly, but
it looks bigger, but it seemed like it's just a hair longer. But I don't know. There's something about it. Is it the roof that just gives it a bigger look?
It's possible.
It's a little lower.
Yeah, they basically, like every new car, they tweak the proportions because it's not a huge departure from the original. But they just learn from what the first one was and say, all right, here's how we can make it better. They make it a little longer and squat it down a little bit. And I think that the bigger news is probably that they now are bringing over the N performance line over to America. So it'll be the Hyundai Veloster N, which uses a 2-liter turbo, which will be different from the Veloster turbo. This one is a 2-liter, which will have 275 horsepower. And I think it was pretty cool of Hyundai. I was reading somewhere that they basically said that we're not trying to make this car something that it isn't. We're not chasing lap times at the Nürburgring. We want something that is approachable for the everyday driver, and I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. It's a fun little sporty car. I think it's a great offering for the young and the young at heart.
Yeah, it really is. Something struck me. Do you think that vehicle, I mean, as much as we love the BMW X1, and there's a new BMW X2 that's even sportier, is that almost the same size class? I mean, I realize there's a large difference in price and prestige, but it seems like they may be trying to tap into that market a little bit, the small, sporty. I won't call them SUVs, even if some people do.
But it's that somewhere in between area where
not quite a hatchback, not quite an SUV.
And it seems like they're trying to find that same buyer, the younger, maybe urban dweller who likes to get out of the city on the weekend. So you need some space, but you still want something that drives.
They don't want a Corolla. It's like the anti-small sedan crowd.
Joe, I understand you've got some blue in your blood. What basically is your must-see from the show?
I grew up riding in the bed of a Ford Ranger, and so I'm excited to see the Ranger back. I know that this is the international Ranger. It's
there's
very
nothing wrong with that.
No,
it's 7 years.
Right. It's not an American exclusive design, but this one, a 2.3 liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder, 10-speed automatic. We've driven that powertrain combination in I think the Mustang and other Ford vehicles have had that. So we know it's good powertrain.
What'd you think the look of it? First impression when you saw it.
It's good to see another small truck. It didn't blow me away, but I thought, this is something that if I was at the show, it seemed like one of the freshest ideas there, bringing back a small truck. So that's why it got my attention.
Do you think it has a fairly soft look? Okay.
Yeah. I
Do you
would say
think
that.
it competes more against Colorado, or is it competing against, say, Ridgeline?
I'd say in terms of its powertrain, it's more against Colorado, but in its looks, it looks more like a Ridgeline competitor because it does look soft. It looks aero. And soft maybe is a pejorative. I think it looks aero.
I mean, we're looking at the FX4, which is like the off-road version. Where if you go to the Z71 over at Colorado, that thing looks beefy. So
this is they're also going to do it in both an extended cab and in the crew cab. The one everybody basically spent most of their time around was the crew cab. I was excited to see it was going to be an extended cab because you get a longer box. I think it'll do okay. It's kind of like where they're starting from. If it's successful, they'll add powertrains and other things. Of course, this vehicle is here for one big reason only, isn't it, Joe?
Yes.
Which is?
To show Chevy that they can't have the market to themselves.
What comes off of this?
Oh, well, the Bronco.
Which everybody wants to know about.
And they didn't show.
No, they didn't show it.
No.
That's probably either next year or New York or something.
I thought the motivation was just to spite Chevy because they're like, well, we're not going to let GM have the market all to themselves.
Well, they
Toyota,
pretty much have.
And Toyota.
And Toyota.
And,
you know,
so
there's
they get some market share with this.
There's a new Frontier coming as well. So
Ford had a weird show, and we, John, you and I talked about this, and the way that they brought out their products, it was we saw the Edge ST, which we haven't talked about, which basically just the first ST for a SUV in Ford, but they revealed that before the show, a couple days before. So we get up there on Sunday, and then they roll out the official reveal, the Ranger and the Mustang Bullet. And then on Monday night, they reveal a teaser away from the show. Just on their press site, they show the GT500, just a teaser video. I just don't understand the reasoning behind it.
I don't either. And they also teased us for the Mach 1, and they're going to use the Mach 1 name as an electric SUV. And they were all sitting there scratching our heads about that.
Can we come up with another name, please?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most fabled names in Mustang lore.
I'm surprised there weren't more people upset about the Mach 1 thing. Like, when I heard it, it's like, aren't people going to be like offended by this?
Yeah, maybe they don't remember.
Saying we're going to take the Mach 1 name and put it on an electric
crossover.
Well, speaking of the Mustang, let's talk a little bit about the Bullet. 50th anniversary of the movie.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it was.
Remember the last Bullet we had? We said that was the most well-matched, screwed-together Mustang we had ever driven, and I can't wait to drive this one. But you got to admit, the star of the show was not the new Bullet, but it was the original
the barn
McQueen's
find one,
car that they couldn't find, and then they found it, and a private owner had it and didn't want to let them have it. And here it comes rolling in with, of course, McQueen's granddaughter, Molly, at the wheel.
I wonder how much Ford paid that guy to get his car at the show.
It probably didn't matter.
Yeah, you're right.
And it hadn't been restored or anything. It was just to die for. And I have to say, it took most of the attention away from the new car.
It did. But that goes on sale this summer.
Yep.
Based
and
on
I
the
can't wait to drive
Mustang GT. So a little minor
couple more
styling
horsepower,
SKUs, a few more horsepower, 15 more.
I just hope they did a matching of components as on this one as well as they did on the last one, because I remember the last one very vividly. We just walked away and said they finally did a Mustang that feels like one person did the whole car. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to pick as mine the new Silverado. Lots of pickup truck news there, and I could go on about the new Ram 1500 probably for a while too. But I'll tell you, the Silverado surprised me. Number one, it's certainly different. They haven't, the last couple of Silverados, you barely could tell them apart from the previous one. This one, they've started pretty much from scratch. They took a very risky venture of doing a mixed material philosophy. Instead of going all aluminum in the body like Ford, they're using aluminum on all of the body panels that move, doors and trunks, and tailgates and hoods, and metal for the rest of it, steel. And of course, that saves them probably $1 billion from having to retool all the factories.
And a
Smart
lot of weight
there. But that wasn't what was most impressive. 450-pound weight saving, very impressive. But the tricks that they did to make it different. The first thing that gets me is they talked about aerodynamics. Yeah, there's spoilers here and there, but up front, at the front bumper, below the lights, are air inlets that channel air directly from the front into the wheel well, knocking down aeros substantially. It's on all models, work truck up. I've never seen anything that sophisticated on trucks. Then you go down the side and you see this nice wavy line down through the front fenders, some real definition to the side. You get to the cargo box. Inside the cargo box, they decoupled the inner wall of the cargo box from the wheel well, and that they moved the inner walls out. They've got 7 inches of more width in the cargo box ahead and behind the wheel wells than they had before. So now their short box carries as much as a long box. They really did stuff that made this truck more useful. 12 tie downs, and then to cap it all off, because obviously these things are selling as luxury trucks, They did some of the stuff that luxury buyers like. They took the exhaust and made them, integral with the rear fascia, and they even put on the first power tailgate with a remote. Mm-hmm. That may sound like frivolous stuff, but when you look who is buying these, I think what they've done is they've always been a very good truck to work. I think they're aiming a lot of this new stuff at Ram, who has been the personal use truck, has been their target. So they've got now like 8 trucks to appeal to everyone. I was very impressed, not so much with the interior, but certainly with the engineering and what they did with it. And of course, they're going to have an inline 3-liter diesel, and everybody knows that the truck guys really like an inline over a V6.
I tell you, in a truck bed, that 7 inches is huge.
That's huge.
It's huge,
absolutely huge.
And there's always that wheel well where you can't fit something. That's huge.
And instead of doing rail-mounted cargo boxes like the Ram boxes, which take up like 500 pounds worth of cargo capacity, they did an in-bed plastic box, not as durable, but you can store a lot in it, and it doesn't really take up any floor space or width. I really think they pulled out the stops and wanted to do a really interesting truck. And the rumor is there's more coming in the way of bed materials and
right. There's a rumor of a carbon fiber prototype bed out there, maybe,
and maybe the top model or something. So I was pretty impressed.
And that,
I think it looks better too.
That aero system, you mentioned, that's a passive system. There's not like shutters or anything.
No, it's just
because that's what's really impressive.
Right through it, and they didn't tell us how much it knocks aero down, but what they're doing, obviously, is they want MPG ratings that are superior to everybody else. And so it's got between Ford's at 30 MPG for their diesel F-150, and these guys obviously are trying to beat that.
It's a good-looking truck, too. That styling line, if you're watching the video version of the podcast, that styling line down the side of the truck, I like that.
Well, let me throw this out at you. What do you think of the styling compared to that in the new Ram?
I thought the Ram was more, my personal opinion, and you guys can chime in because we should open it up now. We got so much more to talk about. I thought Ram was far more conventional. I do think Ram's gone to a slightly softer face, which surprised me.
The interior is very nice.
But I like the Ram interior, and their top model has that 12-inch Tesla-style navigation screen, which is pretty cool.
Very nice. Yeah.
Okay, what else there? Just pipe in, things that interest you. Things that you thought were standouts. I'm not sure there was any wow factors.
No, you got to talk about the Mercedes-Benz G-Class. I mean, it's been 40 years.
Arnold Schwarzenegger did.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger was there for the unveiling. It's been 40 years since it was updated last.
And so this is like an all-new chassis?
Yeah, it's all new.
It looks... They did. It looks. It's a lot like the old one.
It's softened on the outside. It's not as muscular, but I mean,
that's taking the Jeep approach, like with the Wrangler. It's such an icon. You cannot go too far with the styling, and I think that's a lot of people said it looks the same, but they weren't really mad that it looks the same.
It's a G-Class. It looks like 2 boxes welded together, and that's the whole idea. But the headlights were certainly modern and distinctive.
Yeah, they were
still round, but they had the inner light bar.
Had the grab handle on the passenger side.
Yeah, I didn't get a great look at the interior, but I've heard that it's much nicer.
It's a digital, almost A-pillar to A-pillar digital,
kind of like the E-Class type deal. Yeah.
It was very slow,
super off-road capable.
Was the only part? There's 2 parts they carried over. One was the door handle. I don't know what the other one was.
Well, anyway, I mentioned the E-Class, so the E-Coupe, the E-Convertible, and the CLS are getting the Mercedes AMG 53 treatment, which I guess is the first applications of the 53. So that's now on a 48-volt system.
So it's almost a mild hybrid.
Yeah, almost a mild hybrid. It's using an inline-6 turbo engine, so we're back on another inline-6, which Mercedes hasn't had for a while, and a lot of people are happy about that. A lot of interesting tech on this, electric auxiliary compressor, an EQ boost, which essentially will just spool up the turbo for you, if I'm correct on understanding it. At low speeds, before you really get that exhaust boost, this will spin up the turbo for you.
So now you get that thruster lag.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is Zach just did a segment on that.
Right. I'm just editing that this week, and Mercedes is the first company to apply that in a production car. He drove a prototype Mustang with a e-booster, they call it. But other mild hybrid stuff, Greg mentioned the Ram 1500 gets both V6 and V8 get this e-torque mild hybrid system, which I guess is just a belt alternator system, start-stop.
GM, I guess, had.
Yeah.
But you can still get the Hemi without it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good.
Garrett, anything else pop out at you?
BMW X2.
Talk
That was a
talk
big
about
one.
that, because I really think it's cool.
Yeah, very interesting. I was looking at the proportions today, and it fits in between the X1 and the X3.
It's actually slightly shorter than the
It
X1.
is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's 3.2 inches shorter and 2.8 inches lower than the X1, and 13 inches shorter and 6 inches lower than the X3. It seems like that it's not as boxy as the other two.
I agree.
So they're going for more of a raised car experience. It seems like.
Normally when they would have the even numbers with the next, you're looking at a 5-door coupe-ish like, but it doesn't have quite as fast a roof as some of the others. But boy, it's basically a hatchback, folks. A 4-door hatchback.
Yeah.
But
I like
even
the way,
more so than the X1.
I like the way it looks. The only thing I did not like was on that C-pillar, you had the BMW emblem on
Really? You didn't like that?
That's
So
unusual.
that was too garish for them?
Yeah.
Let's see. The LF1 Limitless concept. I guess that's going to be their new top of the line. Probably they showed it with 4 seats, but probably
Lexus,
be a
the new
3-row
crossover. Yeah.
premium SUV. There's a new Honda Insight based on the Civic. Basically, they're back in the hybrid game, more conventional looking, 50 mile per
Well, it's
gallon.
been gone for 5 years, and it's basically a Civic hybrid, isn't it? I mean,
It basically
yeah.
is.
That's
It
what
basically
people
is,
were wondering. Why bring that back instead of you got the Civic?
Civic,
Why not just give
yeah.
it a Civic hybrid name?
I think they just
But it looked
wanted-
good.
It looked
It looked
good. It
real
was
nice,
attractive.
yeah.
Acura RDX, anyone?
That was a nice. That was kind of a surprise. I don't know if I didn't know it was going to be there, and it was technically called a prototype, but it's basically
It's a
that's
real
what it's
thing,
going to
yeah.
be.
That looks like they're
And it
ready
looks
to
great.
open the factory.
Yeah.
And they're going to have 2 performance versions of it, probably eventually, and they're even talking about a Turbo 6 V6 coming. So for the entire Acura lineup, looks like they're trying to get a little more serious about performance. The 2 prototypes from the Nissan folks, one from Nissan itself, the X-Motion concept, a rather
Next Rogue.
robust.
Maybe it's the next
looking-
Rogue.
Yeah.
But it really looked almost like an Xterra on steroids.
Very
It's
boxy.
Very boxy, kind of brutish. But the one that knocked me out
it was
was
a
the
hit.
Infinity Q Inspiration. What a
That thing was
beautiful car.
gorgeous. So futuristic looking.
Oh,
yeah.
their new,
Yeah.
obviously going to be their new
flagship,
high-end
yeah.
flagship. I don't know how much of what they did to that car, especially down the sides, they can keep for production, but it was a stunner.
Yeah, the
I think
pictures
you'd
are
have
pretty
to walk
awesome.
away and.
So what did everyone think of the Toyota
I
Avalon?
knew you were going to that one.
I
could tell
Who's
by your-
demogra-
I could
Say
tell
that
by
to
your
laugh.
demeanor.
Fits the demographic.
You know,
for
It
that.
exists.
It exists. It'll be popular. We always say it's their Buick. I didn't think it looked that different, and I thought it kind of
It's
homely.
super Toyota looking. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no doubt about it when you see it's a Toyota. I thought they kind of went with the Prius Prime style, which also references I'm talking about the interior now,
Yeah.
which also references the Tesla where they have that long screen on the inside. Again, for the demographic, I don't know if that's the
Hey, but it
smartest
does
choice.
have Apple CarPlay standard.
That's what I was.
right.
Yeah, I was freaking out about that. Thank good for them. Finally,
Kia Forte, nice little compact that looks like it's better than the one it replaces. Speaking of that class,
Classes.
first impression when you saw the new Volkswagen Jetta, I thought it was it's a nice follow up. But any first impressions when you saw it?
Well, it's cheaper than the current one.
Yeah,
That's a
but,
good thing.
no
But
more
look-
slab sides.
Yeah.
I know. I like
some
the
sculpture to it. And the interior, biggest departure on a Volkswagen interior we've seen in a production model. Digital dash arcing around.
It's a little roomier inside.
It's hard from the press photos and stuff. It's hard to tell a Jetta and a Passat apart. So I think it's good that the new Jetta maybe has a little more of its own
I
personality.
agree. It's a good way to put
Well,
it.
they got to do something to spark compact car sales. 'cause
Well,
they're
that
obviously
too,
down
yeah.
with them and the Forte. So
Last but not least, GAC.
Gak.
In case you don't know what
They say they're
GAC
coming.
is, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but it's one of numerous Chinese car companies that have talked about coming to America. They are a premium brand in China, and they have won awards as being the best quality brand. They sell about 500,000 vehicles a year. They are going out and signing up dealers as we speak, and they expect to come to market next year with a midsize SUV as their first one. I think it was the GS8, I believe. And then there's also, they showed a GA4 sedan there, and they had a Enverge concept with butterfly doors, which was, shows they want to be an aspirational brand, I thought. But I heard rumors, and that's all this is a rumor, that they're talking about coming in not only with a super long warranty, but just undercutting everybody in price so much that they'll pretty much guarantee some sales. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's
That
not
may be the
what happens.
marketing way to do it.
Yeah.
Will they be the first Chinese brand in the U.S.?
Chinese brand. We obviously already have Chinese
Right.
cars.
There's Buicks and Volvos that are built in China.
It sounds like they're going to be. Or if they stick to this time schedule, they've already built an engineering center in Michigan. If they're actually on sale a year from now, they probably will be. But that's assuming they get by all the crash requirements, the fuel economy requirements.
It's a big task.
That's a big task. All the emission stuff.
Yeah.
So, everybody want to sum up the show in a word or two before we move on?
In my opinion, lots of little models, but there wasn't anything that stole the show this year.
Knock your socks off.
Yeah, when
No.
somebody asks you about it, you kind of have to think a couple of seconds before you say, this is what I thought was the best part of the show. And normally at an auto show, you can pretty much pick one right away. I didn't feel that way with this show.
Yeah.
Garrett, you were back here. You saw the information flowing
Sure,
in.
I would say still trucks and crossovers are
Yeah.
are a big deal.
That's
Get used to it,
obviously,
people.
yeah. Let's call it the Detroit Truck Show. And that kind of leads us into our lightning round. We were all complaining about the fact that there was no real surprise at the auto show, except for the Q Inspiration from Infiniti, because we hadn't seen the front end. Everything else, I guess, was pretty much
Leaked online the day before.
Well, yeah, leaked or put out there. So rather than revealing them at the show, have the manufacturers are they taking the pizzazz away from the show to the extent that for journalists, not for consumers, are they making press days at auto shows irrelevant? What do you think?
Who's starting?
I
we all have 30 seconds,
I
so-
remember 10 years ago when the press conferences would start at 3, 4 o'clock. The big three would do them on Sunday. And it would go all day Monday till 5 p.m. And then even into Tuesday, at noon they would finish up. It was just jam-packed. And it just provided so much excitement and energy, with big reveals. And to have them spread out from Saturday on, and it's like – I don't know. It takes
And
away
be
a
done
little
by
bit.
2 o'clock.
Yeah, be done by 2 o'clock
on Monday.
Yeah, on the first day, Monday. It's like, I think we can get a little more out of it.
I agree. Greg,
I kind of have a thought that maybe I think they're going away. It's just so easy to get information out now. Like the problem isn't getting your information to the people who get the information out to the customers. It's the timing. And now maybe automakers see that, why bury myself in an auto show when I can do something a month or two before completely separate and get all the attention just on me, which is basically what Silverado did with doing it at Texas Motor Texas Motor Speedway. So, I think they're trying to get separated from other manufacturers.
Garrett, you're a relative newcomer to the automotive business. Do you have any observations on this?
I hope that the auto shows, the press days, do continue because I think it's exciting to be there and the leading up to the actual ta-da. I think it's still exciting. I mean, you're making good points that you can, reveal it by yourself and get all the attention. I think for journalists, the press shows are important because of the people who are there, and you can pick up other stories
that is true.
have nothing to do with the reveals. So a lot of key people are in the same place. So, I have kind of mixed feelings. I hope they do continue.
Joe?
I feel bad. I'm too young to have really been in the business when the really exciting auto shows happened, like, 90s stuff where they were like driving cars through plate glass windows and stuff like that. So I'm
cows coming down the street.
I haven't been around long enough to miss the way things used to be, but I definitely say that the like leaking stuff on the internet a week before just doesn't have the same kind of pizzazz. They need to find a way to. If they're going to reveal stuff, I like the showmanship and the production of it, whether it's in person or on the internet.
Right.
And
you have to see it, too. I mean, you made the point that if you see the picture, it is one thing, but you see it in person, you can get
touching
more of an impression.
it, getting in the vehicle.
Sure.
And it's not just this show. We've seen this happening for a couple of years now. I was in Frankfurt in October, and it was the same situation there. So, but what I've been explained to me is the car companies are saying, hey, I'm spending all this money for 15 minutes of the press's attention. And like you both said, it's like, why do I want to do that when I can spend less money and have the stage to myself? And do it for longer. So I'll say.
Well, now, everybody has a smartphone now. They could just keep press out of it and just do it for the people buying their cars, and then that reveal will go out on social media everywhere anyway.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
You're going to put us out of a job, man.
I will tell you, it was very cold in Detroit, and that leads into our viewer question from Vahang from New Jersey. And this is a question we all ask ourselves, I think. He says, I've always been told the warming up your car in winter before driving, don't do it, or you should do it if it's an older car, because it can stall if the fluids are frozen, they can't move. I don't know who told you that, but get another opinion. But now I hear you don't need to warm your cars up, especially new ones, because it just wastes gas. He's got an 09 and a 15 Honda Civic. Should he be warming them up on the cold days like we've had since before Christmas?
No. The only reason he should warm it up is for his heated steering wheel and his heated seats.
Or just for his heated behind.
You don't need to do that. Start the car up and go.
Not with
and
modern cars.
we obviously saw this question ahead of time, but you were expounding on it a little bit more.
If you have a 30-year-old car that's carbureted, obviously it's going to be spitting and stuff, and yes, you need to let that warm up. But, your new car that's fuel injected, no.
Isn't it weird, though, that's true? You're wasting fuel and you're causing undue emissions. And so what comes along that the automakers are now making standard on almost every luxury car? Remote start. Yeah. And I caught myself with one of the vehicles we had here, cranking it up and letting it warm up about 10 minutes before I went out and got in. And I'm thinking, okay, you Mr. Polluter, and I was.
I will say that I have become sensitive to that fact, where when I do that, and I literally from my living room looking at my car, I start thinking about what people think about me doing that.
Oh, I judge you.
I
would totally judge you if I was your neighbor.
I think about other people in my neighborhood seeing me with just a plume of smoke coming out.
He's just wasting stuff.
So,
that guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll say when I start my car on a cold morning, I give it about 15 seconds just to sometimes it'll come down from high idle, and then for the first minute or two, I don't floor it when I pull out of the parking lot. I just take it. I feel everything's getting kind of everything's getting the oil moved around, getting loosened up.
You have to have an understanding of your car so you can literally visualize things going through the compartments.
It's like CSI, the engine cutaways.
Do it, Joe.
But I will say, with EVs and stuff or plug-in hybrids, I don't understand why they can't, and some of them do, you can heat them up while they're still plugged in. I tried to do that with the BMW i3 that we had, and I wasn't smart enough to figure out how to do it.
The Volt does that.
A lot of them, I know, you can do it on your phone.
I think you have to trigger it on your phone. Yeah.
Right, you can turn your AC or your heat on while it's still...
The Volt does, I know that.
Right.
And I think the Volt and the Bolt do, but
so
I don't come standard with that though, right? Don't they really only sell the battery? Or are we talking about something separate here? Because I know they sell battery warmers in colder climates where they sell EVs.
About plug-ins.
I'm talking about being able to turn on the thermostat or turn on the HVAC while you're inside and your car's plugged in outside.
I thought we were talking about actual
you can do that,
right? Because you kill your if you turn on the heat while you're driving, it kills your battery range. But if you're still plugged into an outlet, it just raises your electric bill. So I think in the future, everybody's going to be heating up their cars if they're plug-ins.
So, Mr. Vahang, thanks very much for sending in your question. And basically, I wouldn't warm up my car any more than is necessary unless it's just too cold to get out there. On the other hand, Joe, you made the good point. Don't get out there and nail the throttle the first time you're coming out of the driveway either.
Right, and let the oil get moved around.
Or really ever. Just be safe out there, people.
Well, yeah.
The number one thing you can do in bad conditions is use
You don't want anyone getting any tickets or anything.
Yeah. Do we, Brian?
Speaking of complaining, rant and raves. Anybody got anything from all this bad weather we've seen and people driving like crazy people, and we just got back from the auto show? Anything stick in your craw?
People losing their minds over like an inch of snow, but that's an old complaint. It's just like every school is closed, everything is closed, except like McDonald's. Like it'll be like 3 feet of snow and they'll still be open.
But maybe it's good people stay off the roads because they don't know how to drive in bad
I
weather
guess.
anyway.
Sure.
All right, I think that wraps up this very special edition of our MotorWeek podcast, where we talked about the 2018 North American International Auto Show. Garrett, Brian, Greg, and Joe, thank you all very much for participating. And I want to thank Jim Bigwood, our audio engineer, who makes us sound better than we should sound, and Bob Mixter, who came up with the whole idea of the podcast in the first place. And for Joe, who produces it and makes sure that our video podcast gets out online. Thanks to all of you out there that have made MotorWeek the longest-running automotive magazine on television. We greatly appreciate it. Please watch us on your local public television station and on the Velocity Cable channel. And if you're someplace and wondering where you can see it, go to our website. We have a new system on there where you can put in your zip code and see our air times in a station near you, and it really works now, folks.
It does. Works very well.
Thanks, everybody. I'm John Davis. For all of us at MotorWeek, be careful out there.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.